California to the New York Island, and from the redwood forests to the Gulf Stream waters. This land, it was made for you and me. As I went walking down that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway, and I saw below me that golden valley. This land, it was made for you and me. Well, I roamed and I rambled, and I followed my footsteps to sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around that voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. When the sun comes shining, then I was strolling in the wheat fields, dust clouds rolling. That voice was chanting as the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, to the redwood forest and the Gulf Stream water. This land, it was made for you and me. This land is your land, which, we used to have to sing in elementary school at High Falls Elementary. We would sing "This Land Is Your Land," which is a lovely song on a number of levels. I really like it, actually. I didn't like it then. It felt weird. It was similar to like Pledge Allegiance or something to that effect, where it was as if it was this indoctrination that was going on. Even then, I was a weird kid. You know what I mean? But in any case, I would suggest to you that the song's meaning, ultimately, this universal sort of understanding of the song, is a really touching and nice thing. It's this notion of the potential of Enlightenment era philosophy extrapolated through time in the great American experiment, the melting pot of ideas and multiculturalism. This land is for everybody. Now, obviously, it doesn't take into account the native peoples that were here, which is unfortunate. But I make no excuse for that, of course. And Woody wouldn't either, because he didn't write the song as it has been interpreted over the years. His original intent was as a joke. It was because as he traveled around the country, hitchhiking and playing gigs or whatever, everywhere he went, all he could hear was Irving Berlin's "God Bless America." It was all over. And the gal that sang it, her name, let me see here, her name was Kate Smith, right? And so that voice that comes sounding, which most people interpret as God, talking to you, and, it's, this land's for everybody, sort of, or if not God, some sort of, spiritualism or something. In any case, no, that was the gal Kate Smith's voice. God bless America. I think so. The original lyric, I think, was, let me see if I'm going to look this up so that I don't screw it up. Hold on. God blessed America for me. Instead of "This land is made for you and me," it was "God bless America for you and me." Thank you, God, for doing that. But so the intent and meaning of it originally was as a joke, because he couldn't escape this woman's blaring voice everywhere. God bless America. Okay, I get it. God blessed America. And so he changed the lyric to "This land's made for you and me," because he was, a socialist and believed in equanimity and, the notion of quality, rather. And I think this, it's a much more appropriate way of, doing the tune, certainly. I don't think it would have been much of a hit had it stayed a parody. I do think that it's a good tune to, for me personally, here on coming on Independence Day, to get back into this series of vlogs. Do you call this stuff a vlog? I don't know. Anyway, this series that I was doing about the history of popular music in America before the internet happened and started all the cash out. And so in this tune, he is borrowing a melody from the Carter family, who I touched on a while back when I was talking about gender issues, in terms of American music, or rather gender roles. I was also touching at that time on conservatism and religion as well within that paradigm. And which, again, it's sort of a way to focus all of the different disparate things that I was touching on before and kind of, reboot this little series on Independence Day, 4th of July. Because I do believe, ultimately, I'm a pretty patriotic guy, but not in a jingoistic, militaristic, or dollar diplomacy way, or any of that kind of stuff. But when it comes to the music of America, you see multiculturalism and, again, Enlightenment era philosophy play out in a much grander and bigger fashion than the pettiness when people get caught up in the minutia, as it were. So, but again, to double back to the Carter family, I talked about how there was this conservatism that runs through their music. Well, the song that Woody's quoting here was a Baptist gospel hymn called "When the World's on Fire." So when the world's on fire, we're going to be up with God and everything, that kind of thing. Which is interesting. So that is why I chose to interpret Woody's tune the way that I did just now, is to be able to put that spin onto the thing. I think that that's important to sort of hammer home that you hear a lot of talk about appropriation, cultural appropriation. You hear a lot of talk about cultural appropriation, I think appropriately, for the most part. I do think that sometimes it gets a little misled in the sense that multiculturalism and the great American melting pot that creates this fabric of music across the American scene throughout its history is about the exchanging and borrowing or stealing of ideas. However you would like to look at that is fine, because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter over time as it all becomes one sort of thing. I give you an example of what I mean from an earlier episode of this series when I was talking about oompa music. Germans come with oompa music. Oompa, oompa, which of course along the Mexican border is adopted as well, and in Southwest, and it makes its way into both ranchero music in northern Mexico, and is a constant to this day, and is also the backbone of all of that country and Western music as well. I think that it is interesting sometimes. Let me put it to you this way. 4th of July coming up, and I believe that although Thomas Jefferson was a racist, there's no question. He not only did he own slaves, he wrote a book called Notes on the State of Virginia, in which he referred to African Americans as a subhuman species. There's no way you can pussyfoot around this. He was a racist. This man wrote these words: "All men are created equal." Right? We could update that and make it more gender neutral at this point. But the thing is that's not his idea. That's just a phrase he's borrowing or he's paraphrasing from Rousseau, who's a philosopher from the Enlightenment era. And this is where we get back, the phrase, the pen is mightier than the sword. Well, so the idea of equality, is more powerful than even the racist asshole who's writing the words. You see, those words set the foundation, the idea for future generations, on and on and on, to try and understand and actually get there. You know, that's the thing. It actually provides a starting point, but we're not there yet. Still, it's true. But man, have we come a long damn way or what? Are you kidding me? So yes, I think that it's worth looking at American music to see how these different ideas coalesce into other things later on, because ultimately it's about that forward momentum, right? It's about equanimity, or not equanimity, but you know, it's about getting rid of the old hegemony and the old status quo. But you know, it's not about throwing out the good too. It's about, you know, understanding what worked and what didn't, and then, you know, moving on into the future. I think that it's the potential of the higher aspirations, the aspirational sort of mentality within the American framework are worth going for. Now, did we get there in a positive way all the time? Hell no. Like I say, I'm no dollar diplomacy guy either. And this postmodern sort of, colonialism, in the age of the American hegemon ain't my deal, man. Certainly not at the end of a gun or in the military either. But that still doesn't mean that I don't believe all people are equal, fundamentally. And I think that's worth pursuing. So, and I also believe this land is your land, much more so than Jefferson, who, was into Thomas Hobbes and Leviathan. If you've ever read that, it's worth reading, and it's because it's about, how does divvy up all of the queens, all of her highness's subjects, not subjects, but, her kingdom amongst her subjects, rather, and what everybody's owed or what they deserve. Well, liberty, freedom, these concepts, they are something that is more than Her Highness's kingdom, or the subjects, or for that matter, the indigenous peoples that were, all of the exploitation that's going on in colonialism stuff. It's just horrible, horrific. Slavery, we've talked. There's so much negativity and consequences of it. So, in spite of that, I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of positivity in the notion that Rousseau and these other guys were getting at in the Enlightenment era of equality and not birthright and so on. Because as that gets a foothold, we get further along, then more and more people have opportunities as opposed to the way before. Yes, it's a horrible past and it's a horrible situation, but I want to see these positive things and show them to you. They are there. In the music is all about multiculturalism. It's all about a melting pot. It's all about that, okay? And that is what I've been trying to show, in previous episodes and going forward. That will be a consistent and returning thing. But I wanted to also just touch on freedom. Freedom is an interesting concept, right? Dean Smith is the coach at UNC, and I'm a big Carolina fan, big basketball fan. Grew up with Dean Smith, all that stuff. And Dean was once interviewed in the 70s, and, all the kids had long hair or whatever, and gals interviewing him. She was asking him what about freedom, these kids growing their hair out. He says, that's not freedom. freedom's not just doing what you want. That's not freedom. Freedom is having the opportunity to find your passion, your personal best, what you're made for, and then applying yourself to go get it and having the discipline to do so. That's what freedom is. So in any case, I know I have kind of jumped the shark here and I'm rambling, but I wanted to get back into this series. So I figured July the 4th is as good as enough place as any, American music, right? And the different cultures that have gone into making it, the world culture that has gone into making it. And again, I will not shy away from appropriation and the heinous aspects of all of it, because it's part of the history. But again, I do believe in the better angels at the end of the day. So anyway, God bless you. Anyways, y'all be good. Cheers. Oh, sorry. One last thing. This will be the first time I've ever done this, but please feel free in the comments section to, carry on the conversation. I'll be glad to answer anyone's questions or continue to debate, or, if you want to argue with me or tell me I'm an idiot, I don't give a shit. Go ahead. It'd be awesome, actually. And if you could like the video, subscribe to my channel, and maybe even share it, that would be swell. All right. Thanks a lot. Cheers.